Good day, Deborah Watkins, author of the book From Mediocre to Marvelous, Get Out of Your Rut and Have a Fulfilled Life, and also your certified Christian life coach. How's everyone doing? We're still in January and you're still on them treadmills. You're still eating right. You're still not spending money foolishly. You're still making plans and goals. And that's what I want you to do, of course. And so I am here today to continue in my series, going along with my goal for this year, which is to continue to give words of encouragement and motivation and wisdom on these talks, because as I told you before, this is my passion. This is my passion. This is what I love to do, and I'm doing it for free right now. But anyway, it just goes along with what I was brought here on earth to do. And the talk today is going to be on being humble, humility. But before I talk about that, I want to give my subscribers a name, right? Because a lot of the influencers on YouTube, their subscribers, they give them a name, right? Now, when I looked up my name years ago, Deborah, which is Hebrew, it is in the Bible, right? Deborah was a judge in the Bible. And then there's another reference to another Deborah in the Bible. And when I looked up her name, I was really waiting for it to be something profound and amazing. The name like She Who is the Giver of Life, or Courageous Princess, or something like that, right? Or like with men, warrior. He is who is a warrior. He who wisdom, father of wisdom. So I was looking for it to be something prophetic like that, and meaning like that, right? And when I looked it up, it said bee, B-E-E, the insect. That was it. Bee. I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, I wanted to be she who moves mountains, she who runs across the desert sand with no shoes on. I don't know. But anyway, I was like so disappointed at that point in time. I was like, what do you mean bee? Like, what? This is years ago. As I have gotten more wisdom and knowledge, about life, and I looked up the characteristics and the benefits of a bee, an insect. Well, listen, I am very proud to be bee, because bees, for those of you who know nature and know about nature, bees are the sustainer of life and vegetation on this earth. If it wasn't for bees, plants wouldn't get pollinated, fruit wouldn't be here, vegetables wouldn't be here. Bees have a very important role in the ecosystem of this life in this world. And when there was fear that there was going to be a shortage of bees because pesticides were killing them, there was concern. There was great concern. Also, that honey in its raw form, not the refined processed honey that we buy in the supermarkets, but the raw honey has medicinal properties, because the bees are getting it from vegetation and flowers, nectar, and that's where they make the honey. And it has nutrients in it and vitamins and minerals, and so honey is very medicinal. And so that's what I am. And if you're connected to me because you're a subscriber, that means you're also a bee. But I'm not going to say the B tribe, because then people will think I'm trying to be like Beyonce with the beehives, and I am not trying to be like that girl. Okay, first of all, I'm too old. But anyway, so I'm going to call you my honey tribe. I'm going to call you my honeys, honeybees. All right? So, what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about, again, this series on personal power, and one of the characteristics is being humble, humility. And people who are humble, they don't take credit. They seldom take credit for their success, right? They seldom, if people who are truly servant leaders in this world, good leaders in this world, they will give homage to others before they ever boast about themselves. And they realize that no one person is an island. They realize that, and that we all got here on the backs of others. And you will hardly ever see this type of person bragging unless they are joking, right? And I remember after teaching a workshop on my job, because I had been promoted in the department to the level of deputy superintendent. And so it was a position that had title and prestige, and so people, they looked at you in a different way. They looked at you different because they look at people with positions and titles, they give them a lofty position or representation. And so after the training, this woman came up to me and she said, "You're like normal people." And I was like, "Normal people?" She says, "Yeah, you're like real people, like a real person." And I was like, "Okay, I am a real person, but okay, yeah, thank you, I guess." But then after I thought about it, right, I was like, okay, I get it. I see what she means, right? And what she meant was that I was down to earth, that I wasn't acting, as if people couldn't touch me, or they couldn't approach me, or they couldn't speak to me, or, they had to stand in line, or, and, but that's never been who I was. So anyway, that's what you want to be, because I realized that I didn't get there on my own, right? I got there with the help of others, and I also got there with God's grace. And God talks about being humble in the Bible several times. And we know what the opposite of humble is, right? What's the opposite? The opposite of humble is pride. And so, Proverbs says humility is the fear of the Lord, and its wages are rich and honor and life. Riches and honor and life. Not material riches, but riches of the spirit and, the type of life that you're going to live. And Luke 14, he says, those who humble themselves will be exalted. Right? You don't have to exalt yourself. Philippians 2:3 says, value others above yourself. And that goes back to being a servant, right? That goes back to looking at yourself as being a servant in some capacity, no matter if you're in a position of leadership. Even if you're in a position of leadership. And Jesus was the greatest example. They thought he was coming here to be a king and the Lord over others, and he did just the opposite. He served. But pride, as Proverbs says, Proverbs talks about humility, but then Proverbs also talks about pride, and it says that pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. That's what pride is. James says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Now, we see it all the time. And really, pride is really a mask of insecurity. That's really what it is. And, you know, if you're proud, you're looking for validation from others. You're looking for others to affirm you. And it's really quite annoying, you know, some people, because you have to constantly give them affirmations and validate them and tell them how wonderful they are, and you know how great they are, and how, you know, and there's nothing wrong with giving people acclimates when they do something, but not because they, you know, they ask for it or anything like that, but because that's generally what you want to say to them. But if you're looking for that from other people, you're in for a life of suffering, because just like people will give you affirmation and words of appreciation, out of those same mouths will come criticism and hurtful words, and so you can't look for others to validate you, because they will turn on you as well. So just, you know, find out what it is and the reason why you're here on earth, and not look for for others to tell you how wonderful and marvelous you are. Because you are wonderful and marvelous, but it's because God made you that way, not because man is saying it. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Don't go for the likes. Don't go for what they say for the grams. Yeah, the grams. That's what the young folks say. Now, I need likes on this page, but not because I want y'all to validate me, because I need it for the algorithms. Okay, I need subscriptions, I need subscribers, and I need likes for the algorithms so that my talks can get out there, right? So that they will push it out there. But not because I need you to validate me. I know who I am in Christ Jesus. And I'm not being proud or boastful or anything like that. This is what the word says. This is truth. All right. But just like I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, so are you. I'm not the only one. See, that's the difference. I'm not the only one. Right? We all are. All right, my honeys. And some of you are going to become my honeys because you're going to subscribe. And then you're going to get your friends to subscribe as well. All right. Love you. Bye-bye.